Thank you for joining, Vinod. Thank you for joining, Oni.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So where do you think the edge market is going in general?
Yeah. So, what we are seeing is, if you think of the last 15 years, you're seeing customers, a lot of our customers really get to the cloud in a significant way, increase investments. What we are starting to see is as the volumes increase, as the cost of doing work in the cloud and compute in the cloud increases, we are starting to see very strategic ways in which specific workloads are coming back closer to the source of where the data is getting created. So that could be as a part of on-prem, it could be a part of it being hybrid or edge. But we are seeing a big change in getting compute closer to the source. That's a big thing that we're seeing.
No, I agree with you, Vinod. Thank you, by the way, for coming.
Sure.
See, what is happening is there are a couple of things. Technology is one piece of it.
Right.
How do you optimize this entire thing end to end for our customers? Everybody's trying to figure out how do I make this entire go-to-market motion optimized and use this data effectively. And there are a couple of trigger factors which are basically triggering, and you tell me if you agree with me or not. One is AI is triggering certain sort of things where you take just-in-time information, or just-in-time, which is very close to the customer of that particular frame of reference, if you will. So if a customer or a partner or a retail is basically retail manufacturing bank, they want to take decisions right at the point which will make sure the outcome is driven.
Right.
And they cannot wait for things to go to the cloud and come back from the cloud. By the time it happens, the objective is lost.
Right.
So that's why edge is becoming powerful. The second thing is, there are certain technologies which has come into the market in the last couple of years, which is enabling to do that work,
Yes.
which was not there around about 10 years back or 15 years back.
Mm-hmm.
So people moved everything to the cloud. Now they're realizing that, yes, with this new technology coming in, can I take that power of the same format of the cloud and process the data at the edge, which will instantaneously make me decide certain things, which will enable my customer to get a better experience.
Right.
And at the same time drive profitability for the.
Yeah.
So that's the bottom line.
Right. So we know in your experience, right? In order to do the data processing at the edge, there are certain set of obviously complexities, right? You have a small footprint, and then there is a latency issues, and there is security issues. Do you want to talk a little bit of that?
Yeah. First of all, I completely agree with what you're saying. In fact, there are customers who I've helped who are dealing with almost 35 seconds in terms of latencies, right? In making decisions. And some of these decisions drive the entire supply chain, like at a global scale. So early intervention, on-time intervention, it's immensely critical. So getting that to sub-seconds, right? That's what we were able to do with some of the technologies that you mentioned, that the innovations that have been happening in the last few years, where you get the power of the cloud and the processing at the edge, right? Incredible combination, which helps people make real-time decisions, make changes needed so that they can, avoid significant cost implications, whether it's experience implications or cost implications for either of us. As I think of some of the biggest use cases that this is really going to have an impact on, one has got to do with latency.
Mm-hmm.
When you have massive amounts of data, we're talking like, several, tens of gigabits per second type of manufacturing data.
Right.
You're talking about situations where you have intermittent connectivity. Think of like, retail stores with intermittent connectivity, or maybe you're on a vessel or a ship or a plane where you have intermittent connectivity. Or you could think of telecom situations where you have massive amounts of data volumes coming in at unprecedented ups and downs. So all of those require that you be close to that source of data to be able to process it and then deliver the insights in real time to make the interventions.
Yeah, so to add to that, just imagine, I'll give you a simple example. If it's a car manufacturing company, right?
Right. Yeah.
If there is a stoppage of 30 minutes in a car rollout, that costs more than the entire infrastructure involved in it, because then you're basically delaying so every 30 minutes a car is rolled out.
Right.
So for example, you stop that entire thing and you do one small mistake of one particular part and you realize it after 1 month. Imagine how many cars rolled out with the problem, which you have to recall. That cost involved in that recall is huge.
Yes.
Whereas you can do that exact thing at the same goes with semiconductor industry.
Absolutely.
If you look at semiconductor, they're exactly the same. They have so much data, their yield has to be higher. If they have to change certain set of things, they want to do it in the fly.
Right.
That's where the edge comes into the play. If you take retail, same. You want to make sure when the retail is drugstores, You cannot make a patient wait for an insulin injection if your latency, if your connectivity to the cloud is gone. You have to give them the medicine.
Hospitals.
There is nothing, hospitals, healthcare, you name it. So the edge is becoming so powerful. And the interesting part, what we have done, and again, we have to make it absolutely secured. This entire thing has to be secured. And that's what what we are doing as a company. And I'm pretty sure you have seen that in action.
Yeah,
right?
so glad you mentioned semiconductors, because that's an absolute they're spearheading a lot of the demand for innovation in the space. So think of sovereign states trying to come after your semiconductor IP, right? So there is need for you to really not even be dependent on the cloud, but then there's also need for having that level of performance, but then have it within your walls, right? So there are air gap technologies where you're completely disconnected, but then you have capabilities today, right? Thanks to companies like Rakuten and Google's GDC offerings, where you're able to do a lot of that and get it to state-of-the-art performance metrics and state-of-the-art latency requirements in your site, which is incredible. Which was not possible a few years ago.
Okay, one final question. I know there is a lot of a transformation happening in North America, right? In the retail space, and I know other areas. What are you guys seeing in the different part of the world, right? Like APAC, EMEA. Is it like same kind of a transformation happening, or like are they catching up to it? If there is if a CIO or a CTO were to listen to this, what are the key takeaways for them if they run a distributed business like a retail store or like a fast food chain? Or why should they look at edge? And then how is it going to help them, in their business? Vinod, you can go
first. I can quickly start. So, especially with some of the offerings that are there today, if you are a CIO looking at a retail operation, for instance, where you have stores across the country or across the world, you have specific, POS level challenges and POS inventory level challenges that you're just not wanting to deal with on a regular basis. You don't want people to be trained up and down on different types of technologies. So you want consistency, first of all. You also don't want to be left with connectivity issues, because not all your locations may have the same levels of connectivity. Like I live in San Francisco, I'm blessed to have connectivity issues, but I have companies. I used to work at a retailer. They had stores in Hawaii, and that at times that was an issue where they would have significant weather issues. So having a layer of protection against changes in patterns that you don't control, but you don't want your customers to be at the front of, they get the brunt of it. So having consistency and experience. And I think finally, how do you not make this a huge capital investment every time you need to invest in technology? How do you make it predictable? How can you make it an OpEx where it's capped, it's predictable, and I don't have to go back to my board to now justify a huge expense in IT this year because of a technology innovation? So all of which is doable right now with some of the innovations we are seeing in GDC.
No. So I can give you, when I speak to the customers, they're one of the biggest challenges. If a customer is walking to a particular store, you do not want that particular person to walk away without buying anything for what he has come for. How do you make that happen? First, we need to analyze what is that market need of that particular area. What is the footprint of people who are staying there? You name it, retail, grocery store, manufacturing, you name it. I can give you examples exactly. The second thing the CIOs are looking is, based on my experience of talking to this, they want consistency. If a program or a promotion or things need to be launched, they want to make sure it is launched by regional level, because there are certain sentiment, social structures which are required for certain regions. You cannot just launch a program which is going to be successful in North America, is going to be successful in Latin America. So you have to be very specific to that.
Correct.
And those can be done very specific to that, and that decision can be taken at the corporate level. But it can be pushed down and effectively done on certain occasions. Like for example, if you want to run a special promotion during Halloween, the same promotion cannot be run in India.
Yes.
That promotion might be run during the Diwali time or during Chinese New Year in Singapore. But you have to figure out that, and that decisions are basically very edge driven. And if you go one step below, it's not only edge, it's micro edge, to be honest with you, because within a city there are certain pockets where certain set of people come during certain day. So you have to figure out what is that going to attract those people to basically see the value of that particular, because you want to create long-term association with that customer of yours. And that's what is making this edge very successful.
And then you get, just to repeat, you get to actually now see almost like the test and target.
Correct.
How do you really validate that what you're doing is working and then make tweaks at the location,
Location.
at the edge, as opposed to waiting for a big global push?
Exactly.
So this gives you infinite flexibility, I think. All right.
Thank you, Ani and Vinod. It was lovely having this chat. Thank you, Ani.
Thanks, Vinod.
Thank you.